Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
You didn't want to have your illicit drug use recorded on tape?
My illicit drug use only takes place on the balcony now. I'm only allowed to do that on the balcony. And no, I wouldn't like that recorded, although it's not illicit any longer.
No, it's not. Technically,
it is
not.
now licit.
It's very explicit.
It's not explicit, but it is. I can't think of another licit word. No. There must be more.
Blissit.
But I'd be blissin'.
This is an evening show.
This is evening pages. It's not.
No, this is just first person present evening edition. I think first person present evening edition makes the most sense. It's like a news show.
Night person present.
Oh my God. Your ideas are bad in the night. That's not a good one. I think evening edition is nice. Because
evening edition?
Yeah, because
that's
it's like
the news.
It's like yes, that's what we're going to be delivering to the people today.
But first, evening edition means evening indulgence.
Evening edition means evening indulgence. So, the reason that I wanted you to open this wine is because, well, I just want you to open it and I want you to tell me what comes to mind.
Oh, okay. We do have a couple of surprises in store tonight, this being the first of them.
Yes.
Later, there will be a surprise for Dasha, so never fear. There will be surprises all around tonight.
Surprises abound.
So, here's a bottle of wine in my hand called Hérétiques. Okay. It's 2024. It's French. It's a red table wine.
Can you put it down here for a second?
I can
so
put it down here.
So that people can see it?
Absolutely. It looks beautiful. I love the constellation on the bottle. I don't know if I would have picked this one up because of the bottle.
Okay.
Which is a thing now that we have to think about.
That's interesting that you're thinking about that.
Yeah, but I'm interested. You chose it after all.
I did. I did choose it.
So I will now open it.
Okay. Open it.
I don't think that we have like the ASMR microphone set up to actually, you guys.
But I don't think that this
would
have been
content warning if you're a recovering alcoholic. I think the ASMR of opening a bottle of wine might be like one of the most triggering possible things.
Oh, interesting. You'd have to be a pretty observant alcoholic to really to have like really fond memories of that particular sound.
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like for me, I mean, listen to that. That's a great sound. I love.
You're not
sound.
a recovering alcoholic. You're a drinker.
I'm a participating alcoholic.
Okay. I mean, let's not. You're not an alcoholic, so let's not spread that bizarre rumor completely unnecessarily.
Hey, we're here for the gossip column. You know, I heard Zona Motel is looking for a gossip helper.
I have to say, I thought of you. You
thought of me?
Yeah, I don't actually think you're tuned in to the world enough to be of any service to them in terms of but I think you'd be good at generating gossip, and I think that you'd be good at writing it.
You know, there's one thing the Boardmans are known for on both sides, mother and father, and that is stirring the pot.
Oh, really?
It's yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't take your mother for that. For a pot stirrer.
My mother has her way of stirring the pot. My father has his way of stirring the pot. I have my way of stirring the pot.
You're not a pot stirrer.
I really try not to. I don't like to. And then after the fact, when I have stirred the pot without realizing it, I regret it. Once again, with the ASMR setup, people
this is
wow.
I mean, this is.
I kind of got a little carried away on that pour.
I gotta tell you though, you would make a stellar bartender.
I would be much loved.
Yeah, you would be much loved. Okay, so.
Okay, heretics.
Yeah, to heretics everywhere.
To heretics in the publishing world.
Ooh.
Very dry. To the tooth.
To the tooth.
It's an al dente wine.
Do you recognize this wine?
Not in the slightest.
You don't remember this wine at all? You don't remember the bottle or the label or anything?
No.
Okay.
Why?
Because you might recall that during the pandemic in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when we first finally got over to what I think is the best wine shop there. I don't know. Everyday Wines is also very good. But
Okay,
we went
wait a second. It's starting to come back to me.
We went to Spencer Wine the first time.
Yep.
And
For the shop, not the prefix, right?
yeah, we went to, yes, it's a wine shop that has a little restaurant component that only happens, I think, twice a week. And it's a prefix menu. It's a chef's menu. It's very good. But anyway, so we went into the shop. This was during the pandemic. And you asked for I don't remember exactly the verbiage that you used, but you wanted something like jammy and like hard. Do you remember that?
I do. And the term would be, and I only know this not because of the memory of this wine, but because I've asked for it several times, a big dick swinging red.
Yeah, I think that was what you had asked for. And I don't think that that's actually what we got because it was this, but I'm pretty sure this is what we got.
There's a little bit of swing to this ding. I'll say that.
Reader, you read it here first. Listener, you heard it here first.
We're currently demoing our Future in Food and Wine.
A little bit of swing to this ding. So I wondered because you seemed really into it at that point. And the thing that I was experimenting with in my mind when I was picking this up was, what if he hates it? And then I'll remind him of the fact that he was really into it. Would have been, I guess, almost 5 years ago now.
So you were going for a gotcha.
I don't think I was going for a gotcha. I think I was going for evidence of how inconsistent our taste is. Because that happens to me a lot.
I was actually going to go there.
Yeah.
Where I was asking for the big dick swinging reds 5 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
That was when I was really interested in Montepulciano. I was just really drawn to bold, loud flavors. This is something that over time has mellowed, and now I have a softer palate, and I like things that are kind of in reds, like velvety and light, and not necessarily chilled, but chillable, but then on the table. And I feel that this is a taste arc which has been mirrored in my music taste, in my writing life, in just about every other taste that I've cultivated in one way or another. And that's not to say that I have a cultivated wine taste, because I certainly do not. But especially in writing, I've noticed that once I liked really bold, angular, angry sentences in the tradition of 80s realism. I was really into that. And I think that was a natural outgrowth of my earliest one branch of my early development, which was Hemingway, huge pillar of my early writing development, which then, of course, for me, like for many others, turned into Ray Carver and writers like this. And I've backed off of that. I like things that are a little bit more erroneous now. I like things that feel conversational in a bad way.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I was just talking to one of my writing coaching clients about this yesterday, where something that I've realized in my writing history is that for a long time, I think true to this taste for realism, this taste for angular sentences, this taste for declarative syntax, was an urge to edit, just chop my sentences, hammer them, make them really muscular and masculine, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Work them. work my metalworking is the way that it felt like to me, as I was really just like melting them and hammering them and fighting with them. And I think that I saw this in my client's work. I see this in my client's work. He's an editor. He'll give a piece 5, 6, 7, 8 passes before he lets anyone even look at it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm talking like read the beginning to the end. This is something that he does when he comes to the table every morning, is he reads what he wrote before, and that's dangerous in a lot of cases, but it's his process, and it's a process that a lot of writers have. And now he submits something to me which is nonfiction for the first time. He's a fiction writer.
Okay.
Like hard sci-fi, hard science-y sci-fi.
Hard.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh,
Big dick swinging sci-fi.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That is I forgot about that. Yeah.
And his non-fictional piece is about an experience he had when he was young. And as such, the voice is really rosy and nostalgic, and there's a warmth to it that I wasn't used to in his writing. Now, I'm not saying that this is like a better or worse thing. It's just a different feeling, right? It's like To Kill a Mockingbird versus Ernest Hemingway. A feeling of a welcoming atmosphere in the prose. And there was one sentence, I think it was like, so, comma, the plan was hatched. And it was just talking about something. I was like, my friend, you would never have written this sentence in a short story that you subjected to the editing process that you typically subject your stories to. It's too basic. And it was funny, as we were talking about this in the room, I watched his face change, and he was like, it actually doesn't really make sense. The metaphor is a little bit mixed, actually. And I was like, what you're doing right now is editing. And I'm telling you that this sentence is perfect the way that it is, because it is sort of cliche. It is in the passive voice. It starts with a conjunction. It has all of these things that traditional writing wisdom tell you is bad. And yet it is the kind of sentence that is lending the tone to this piece. And it's that softness, that warmth.
It is an awkward sentence.
So that sentence, that's like a Côte d'Aron sentence, or like a Pinot Noir sentence.
Yeah.
Something that's like really soft on the tongue, and it feels silky, and it feels unnecessary, you know?
Pinot Noir. Is it necessary? They weigh in.
Ask a Californian.
Oh, deep cut.
That's going to be...
Do you really need oak in those barrels, Chardonnay losers?
I think that I just got my my thumbnail for the YouTube video. Pinot Noir, necessary? Question mark. And I think, likewise, my introduction to Proust was very illuminating on this front. I was like, oh, I like things that are a little bit delicate, that are not so intensely polished as a steel Hemingway sentence. Yeah,
I mean, I think I talk to people about, or I guess this is just happening recently, but I've been talking to people about book lengths a lot. So the length of a novel and kind of how that informs the work. And I think when a book is very slim, when I see it on a bookshelf, or as I'm looking over right now, my expectation is that it's going to be really sort of razor sharp.
Fleur Jaeggy style.
Oh, yeah. And Fleur Jaeggy is incredible.
Extremely.
And you can tell that level of sustained attention to the writing and that particular voice, especially Fleur Jaeggy's voice. For anyone who hasn't read Fleur Jaeggy, I would really recommend Sweet Days of Discipline. It was the first novel of hers that I read. It was recommended to me by Gabe Habash, who's recommended so many books that I love now to
Shout
me
out
over the
Gabe.
years.
My guy Gabe.
Love Gabe Habash wrote Steve in Florida. He teaches at the University of Michigan. He's an incredible reader. He has exceptional taste, I think, in books and movies.
One of those moments right now, I really wish that I had a soundboard, because there's a moment in, I think, 30 Hours by Kanye West, where he's just like answering a voicemail on his phone in the studio as he's recording. He's like, oh, it's my boy Gabe. What up, Gabe?
Oh, boy.
That's my moment. I would push it right now. Sorry, new Kanye sucks. Everyone knows it. We've moved on. However.
So when I'm looking at a book of a slim thing like that, I'm expecting something. I'm coming with certain expectations. And when I'm looking at something big, doorstoppy, Anna Karenina, I'm reading The Last Samurai right now because of the Helen. Unfortunately, I have to say that the thing that ultimately prompted me to pick up that book that I've had on my shelf for a long time is this controversy with the Wyndham Campbell Prize.
Not exactly true, because it was in our little library, and what actually prompted us to get that book is me finding a pristine copy.
Oh, it was pristine. We have like a very literary person in our neighborhood because they're always dropping off.
I think that we have 2 or 3 very literary people, one of whom is perhaps a scholar who studies like 50s to 70s American beat literature and everything surrounding it, and is always dumping all their books in there. And then there's like the contemporary person who's dumping their books in there, and both of them have proofs all the time.
Well, anyway, so I'm reading The Last Samurai, and it's big. I mean, even by, I think, today's standards, it's pretty big.
Was it 400 pages?
I think so, yeah, if not longer. And I just sort of assumed, even sort of before I got started, that it would be sort of baggy, kind of a little casual, not so tight and sharp and acidic as I think short novels tend to be. As Fleur Jaeggy. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting to think about how there's that type of novel, the very slim one, and then the sort of the thick one that makes you feel like, oh, am I should I do this? Which is, I had that moment when I was picking up The Last Samurai. Should I do this? Should I pick this up? Right? And then there's everything in between, right? Which is most books when I pick them up. I picked up Miranda July, all 4s, which I have only read sort of in pieces since it's come out. That was in the library, and I picked that up without thinking about it. It's the middle size. It's the novel size novel.
It's the middle size, and the text is big, and it's going to be fast.
It's going to be fine. It's probably clocking in at something between 75 and 85,000 words. So it has that sort of ease, right? But there is something very interesting about something being very big, and you just immediately knowing that you're not going to be overwhelmed by the language, except sometimes when you are. I'm thinking about the novel that should we talk about this? You put it down.
Which one?
The German novel.
Oh, Schattenfroh. Yeah.
Which was quite big.
It's 1,000 pages. I got to page, I think 650, and I got peeved. There was, this is the sort of thing that I hope no one else puts the book down for. The book is Schattenfroh by Michael Lentz. He's a German writer. He's a contemporary German writer. He's also a musician and a poet, and I think a university person. So he's very theory oriented. This book is very interested in his hometown, which was leveled completely during World War II. I think something like it was the most leveled city in all of Germany, and it was like 95% of the buildings were leveled or something like that. It's really an incredible stat. But the book is about, his father dying, and it goes on a million surreal tangents about, history and torture, and it presents as a book that is very thoroughly researched, and that the author has paid a lot of attention to its construction to justify the reader's attention that is being asked for, right?
Yeah.
This is something that this is something I've come up against multiple times just recently, and I'll tell another example in a second. But Schattenfroh in particular pulls in the bibliography of Schattenfroh. So all of the research, he does an extremely ballsy thing, Michael Lentz, translated by Max Lawton. Just want to get all of the names out there that matter right now. Which is that he includes the bibliography. All of his research for this novel is in the book, in situ, like page 650, something like this. And it's like, I was so disappointed. Like 3 pages front and back.
Mm-hmm. You feel like it should have been much longer.
For a 1,000-page book.
Yeah.
When an academic article of any sort typically has, let's say, 40 sources in an article of 40 pages, I felt extremely annoyed. I was like, you should have researched more. If you're going to write 1,000 pages, you should have researched more. Now, I understand that probably this is not the point of the book. The point of the book is the death of his father, and it's interesting the way that it circles around that, and I was really loving the circles whenever the father would come or the mother, because essentially the narrator is becoming an orphan. But I, in an extremely petty spirit, despite enjoying the book, I would say all the way through then, put it down because I was... like, you should have done more.
See, the gossip column can have a...
This is good for the gossip column.
This is good for the gossip column because it's not actually gossip. It's just a petty take.
Zona Motel? Give me a call, girls.
I'm your girl. Okay, so...
The other book that I felt this way about is Infinite Jest, by the way, but we don't have to go there.
But you haven't read Infinite Jest.
But it took him like a couple of years.
Okay, but you haven't read Infinite Jest.
A couple of years. How hard can it
be? Traffic swarms like bees against the banks. Glass half nervous. Glass half nervous.
I've really got a exciting listener question for you today.
Okay.
Now, this is my surprise for you. You've got a heretic for me. I've got something a little different for you.
Okay. I'm tuned in. I'm listening.
Yeah. I wonder if this is where my microphone's at. So, like, if I'm working on a poem, like, when do I know it's done? Or, like, if I'm working on a poem, how long do you work on a poem? Does it have to be a full story? Or is it just a vibe? Or a moment? Is every word perfect? Or is every line and then the next line have to hit? Does the poem have to hit? Or does every word have to hit? Like, I don't know, man. How do you know when a poem is a poem?
How do you know when a poem is a poem? I have no idea who this is, by the way. This is a fully anonymous question from the viewers.
Okay.
Or the listeners.
So the question that I thought was very interesting in that question was, does every word have to hit or does the poem have to hit?
Isn't it exactly what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, like, I want to preface this by saying that I am not a public poet. I'm a private poet. So
neither of us are publicly poets, nor would I
feel like
ever
you're
be.
more of a... Haven't you published poetry?
I published translations.
Okay.
I've published poems, though, actually. Yeah, no, I have. It's just been a long time.
Okay.
And I would never do it again. Maybe I would do it again.
I won't. I write poems.
All the best prose writers are such unfortunate poets, and I feel that way about myself.
Well, anyway, so I guess I just want to sort of admit my lack of expertise here. But then I also want to say that what the fuck does it mean to have expertise? Anyway.
For poetry. For prose.
No,
for
I mean,
writing.
don't say that. I think there are
experts
in poetry. Yeah, the ones that write it a lot.
Yeah, but that's not
publish
expertise. That's experience.
I think that I guess what I'm trying to say is that I ran into this problem several times in my life, which is I really do not know how to critique a poem. So, like, I couldn't even write a review of a book of poetry because I don't know the terms on which to critique it.
Did you try?
No. Because I think that I either
you
like it or I
eligible.
don't. No, I just mean that I don't know. I don't have the language for it, and the thing that I actually really struggle with, that I've tried to talk to poets about, and maybe this does speak to. I'm just going to assume it's Austen. It's probably not, but
I would like to say anonymous listener.
Anonymous listener. I don't know how poets revise poems. So I really don't know how you would even go about fixing the not hitting if in fact it wasn't hitting. So first of all, there's that. I've talked to Julie about this, my friend Julie Morrissey, who I have done several projects with and who I really love and who's a very accomplished poet. And she thinks I'm an idiot because she revises poems the way that she thinks prose people revise prose. Anyway, and she writes prose, so she revises it, I think, in a similar way.
She would know.
But my answer to the what has to hit is that I think the poem has to hit. Like, I don't think that you can string together a bunch of really good sentences and expect that they will hit without thinking of the larger project. And in this case, it's the unit is the poem.
The poem.
Yeah.
I think that poetry is an excellent way to talk about all forms of writing because the poem is so small in the same way that the
Unless
MFA,
it's not.
Okay, yes. Let me preface this.
You're working on a poem and it's going to be long as hell.
I don't want to talk about my poems. My poems are not what this person is asking
that's what
for.
you should title this episode.
I don't want to talk about my poems. But what I want to tell you is that in the same way in the MFA and in like creative writing classes, they teach the short story just because it's something that you can see the beginning and the end, and it's something that you can work on in a couple of weeks and really do it in class with each other versus a novel, which is going to take a lot longer and it's unwieldy. And how are you supposed to workshop a novel? Blah, blah, blah. A poem is great because you sometimes have like 3 lines that you're dealing with.
It's a miniature, yeah.
And I think that my answer to that question is that nothing has to happen in any form of writing. And the minute that we start thinking that things have to happen one way or another is typically when we start writing for someone else's expectations versus our own satisfaction with a piece or whatever that may be. So I don't think anything's supposed to happen in any kind of poem. And I think that any case can be made for every word hitting. I think a case can be made for most words not hitting in service of the greater idea of the poem so that you have a really loose language that feels really velvety and soft, like a Pinot Noir, right?
Oh.
In service of the greater tone of the poem so that, like, who gives a shit about the individual unit of the words if the poem hits? But I think that it depends on the poem, This is something that I feel every single time I talk to a coaching client or any, aspiring writer who wants rules and wants answers about what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And I just don't believe that exists in the world of art creation.
I mean, I know you're saying that, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't even want to say I don't even want to say on principle, because I think I could just say that I agree with you. But I will say that poems that I love usually really, really work on the sentence level, on the word level. And I think that similar to the Slim novel, when you have such a contained medium, you can really dial in on every single word. Let's choose two divergent examples. Like, talk about the haiku, because I think that this is an excellent opportunity.
I fucking love the haiku.
It is your shit.
I love haiku. And I think haiku works really well. A lot of haiku that we're familiar with that's taught is translated. So that's the first problem there is I think that I love it on the word level. But the thing that is so brilliant about the haiku that I think where the economy really, really matters is it's an image. And so you really don't have a lot of – you really have to be very precise. You're evoking an image, and then you have to do the work of evoking the emotional resonance of that image. So you don't have a lot of room. You don't have a lot of space. You have to be very precise. On the other end of that is something I don't have a ton of experience with reading, but, you know, epics.
Epic
where
poems, which I've got a lot of experience reading.
I know. Where you have a lot of room, you know, where probably not every word needs to hit.
I mean, that's interesting to think about that, because I would say contrary to novels in prose, the epic poem really does need to hit every word, you know?
Right, when compared to the novel.
No, Virgil's Aeneid has something like 150 incomplete lines just because he couldn't find the perfect thing to slot in there before he died.
Oh, I was going to say, so he just left it? I see. Yeah.
He died.
Yeah.
Well, he did, you know.
He was
just
trying.
Leave it. He was trying. He was actively writing it. And I've never read a satisfying English translation of the Aeneid, honestly. But the Latin is truly one of the most concordant, beautiful, complete things I've read in any language of anything. But I think that, so poetry is beholden to the word in a way that I think that prose is perhaps not. And maybe that's what the difference is between the two genres.
Yeah.
But I think that in a poem, if we're going to extrapolate it to writing in general, which I think is important, because I think that we have a lot more, we prose writers have a lot more in common with poets than often we think or we might believe, you know, especially like the really crafty prose writers. Okay. I think the poem demonstrates different levels of craft in a way that is a lot more discreet and teachable and understandable than prose. You know, you can understand like the individual words and how those work, and you can slot them in and out in like much easier fashion. And the line is its own thing, and then the poem as a concordant whole is another whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Like you feel like it's made of smaller units that are sort of easily more controlled?
Only more easily controlled because there are literally fewer words present.
Yeah. I mean, again, unless we're talking about a very long poem and a very short novel. But
yeah.
Still, I see your point.
So I think that everybody should write poems that tries to write at all, just to fuck around and find out, basically. and find out how
Yeah.
wrong I am and how poems are the hardest genre, actually.
I think it is. I do. I think it's
I
the
feel
hardest
completely
genre.
wooden and flat-footed when I introduce a line break. Like, that's the only thing it takes for me to feel completely out of my depth.
I think also there's something about poetry that feels very brazen to me as a medium. I think there's a more explicit relationship to declaration and emotional truth than I feel comfortable presenting as an artist.
Unless there's not. I'm going through my Rilke phase still, and I don't know that he intentionally over his career gets away from feelings. He's like, oh, you feel feelings? Good for you. This is deeper than that, bro.
It's crazy that, but don't you think it's crazy that he found something that he feels is deeper than feelings?
Yeah.
I think that proves my point.
It's absence. It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's why it's so hard to read Rilke. He doesn't make any sense. He's talking about what he's not talking about. You don't have anything to say about that?
You know what I have to say about that? As we were talking, I had like a step away moment. Is this what it's like to have ADD? But I had a step away moment where I was like, wait, am I on YouTube now?
You're on YouTube
I don't
now.
think that it's occurred to me that I'm on YouTube.
You are, in fact, on YouTube. So anybody out there who is listening but not watching, Dasha looks crazy right now.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.